It is back to school, of course. Are you ready? What are the type of issues that moms or parents are going to possibly encounter as far as back to school is concerned? I know one of the issues is separation anxiety, very especially if it's the child's first year at school. And then we'll be looking at, time permitting, obviously, we're going to be looking at one or two other issues regarding school, back to school, and how to support your child in this very, very exciting time in their lives. Assalamu alaikum, Mariam. Welcome to the program. How lovely to be chatting with you this morning.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to yourself and all our listeners. And indeed, it's lovely chatting on air to you.
And we do have a bit of extra time. We're going to chat right up until the top of the hour. Let's start, you being a childhood development expert, let's start with that very key question. I'm sure there's been lots of tears at the school gates this morning. Possibly the tears started at home. Possibly not only our little darlings, but mommies have been tearing as well. What's that all about? And how do we overcome this issue around childhood separation anxiety? What are the positive things we tell our children?
So separation anxiety is an irrational fear, and usually it manifests, round about when the kids are young and they need to be now apart from parents. Because remember, at this young stage of their lives, around unless your child has been at daycare and that's used to work purposes, but generally children enter the schooling system in preschool around about 4 years old or 5 years if you like to keep them a little longer with you. And so around about 4, 5, sometimes 6 as well, you'll get that separation anxiety might manifest in a child. So it's an irrational fear because at that stage of their life, children don't understand the difference between a temporary separation and a permanent separation. So if parents are gone, they're gone. I'm here alone, and even though you can reassure them that I will come and fetch you at this time and that time, it doesn't process as such. You're leaving them and they're not there with you, and remember, a parent is a child's whole world. It's the comfort, it's the security, it's the confidence. So when in certain children, they see this as an extension of them, and when you leave, all those comfort, security, feeling safety is taken away. That whole mechanism is taken from them. That extension of themselves is taken away, and that is why they start becoming anxious. They start tearing up. It goes on to a full blown, what we say, episode where they will cry incessantly, mommy, they're not going to focus. There's going to be a real barrier to learning. So that every parent knows their children, and they know those that are very attached. You might have 3 kids, and some are happy to be away from you and they feel secure, and others are very attached to you. You often have this saying where some parents will say, this is my place. This is my child. That means that this child is very, very close to you, and they do experience separation anxiety. So the conversation in terms of giving your child comfort and explaining to them should have been happening already in December and now in January prior to school, to explain to them what it's going to be like. I'll have to leave you now. I will come and fetch you, and start a conversation that you're going to learn. You're going to have somebody who's going to be just like a parent figure. So they will take care of you, and so you need to start having this conversation. If you have not, and today is a difficult day, and you see tearing, and you ask to wait outside the classroom, remember, a child just needs to see a familiar face from home.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's not you, it's a dad, or even if it's if you have a childminder at home or your housekeeper, and they can wait, they need to see that familiarity. So I often tell parents, if you have something that your child knows that you always wear, be it a keyring of yours of the car, or a bracelet, or maybe, a scent of yours, or that, give it to them. Tell them, you know what, this will remind you of mommy. So I'm going to give you something special. I want you to hold on it. Every time you're missing me, have a look of it. Have a look at it. And when you're missing me, hold it tighter, give it a little squeeze, and just know I'm near you, and I'm rooting for
Oh,
you. And this is going to be
oh,
this
so
this is going to
sweet.
be
It is
fun.
so
This is a
sweet and
new
so precious.
yes. So that is what I tell. I always advise parents. I say give them a little trinket of you, something that they know. Even if it's your bookmarker that's there
Mm,
beside your bedside that you're reading, that they know that they'll associate with you. Something that
right.
they associate with with mommy or with daddy that they attach to. So something from home, or even tell them take something at home that reminds you of the family and hold it. And when you massage, give it a little squeeze because you need to replace something. Something is being lost. A parent
Right.
is taken away. So give them a replacement. And look, sometimes it's difficult. It takes about sometimes if it's severe cases. I know I've been there looking. I'm starting next week and the following week, so it's a very difficult time for me. Sometimes it takes about 3 weeks for children to actually settle down.
Okay.
And then you need a
So,
motivation charge.
right. So, Miriam, let me ask
Humongous.
you this question. Let me ask you this question then. Is this situation, this separation anxiety, do the children outgrow it? How long do you endure with them, or are there certain children that have these problems, possibly plaguing them for the better part of their lives?
Look, you know what? Being close and attached to your parents and having them around is part of your personality trait, right? So, I mean, some kids, you have kids here, and some are very close to you. They need that cuddle or they need to check to you just for their reassurance. And that's their personality. But when it becomes a barrier and obstacle to learn, so it's all about managing this. And that's so, yes, I don't say you outgrow it, but you get an understand about it. And if you're supportive, normally about 3 or 4 weeks into the schooling year, what happens is sometimes if your child is 4 years old and you decide to start early, and then separation anxiety manifests, and you don't deal with it, you decide, you know what? I think my child is too young for the class, and hence they're crying that. So I'll take my child out now, and then maybe I'll put them in next year. For me, that's problematic because you haven't addressed the situation. I always
Ah,
tell parents that should not be the reason, because how do you determine when a child is ready? Because there's many factors to see if a child is ready. If a child is ready, it depends on maturation, their ability to understand instructions from an educator, ability to concentrate at that stage for even 5 minutes on an activity, ability to interact with peers. So, or even just to work side by side. There are many factors that will determine whether a child is ready for an educational environment or not. But separation anxiety is not one of those that will show if they're ready or not. That needs to be worked through because that is a personality trait. So I always tell parents, because if you don't address it now, it actually becomes stronger. It's like a phobia. If
mm,
you don't
mm.
address it, and that your fear, as you get older, your fear becomes stronger. When you little, it's easier, so it gets stronger. So if you don't address it now, and your solution was to take child out of the educational situation, next year you'll have to do it. Next year your child is older and becomes more entrenched. So I always tell parents, please work with the educator, with the school, even speak to them, tell them, can I wait outside the classroom? Can I stand at a window where my child can see that I am here? Or in the past, I've told parents to tell the children, you will be waiting in the car, get a set of spare keys, leave the spare keys with, with the child to say, I'm sitting in the car, here's the keys. When we done the lesson, you give it to me and I'll drive off, but I'm waiting in the car. And today with technology and internet, you could even send a photo of yourself sitting in the car, send it to the educator. The educator says, see, here's your mom waiting for you, so now let it. So they need reassurance that you have not left. You are around. Even though they can't see you, you're still around. And that is
Okay.
how you relay the fears and you work through the separation anxiety. Fortunately, now it doesn't happen as much in grade one because remember, the point of entry for school now is grade R,
Mm,
compulsory entry, and whatever you do before that, you're giving your child an advantage. So most children enter formal educational learning around about 4 or 5 years old. So come grade one is no longer we see those scenes that, those very, very theory grade ones because they have children work through the system. So you might find it in grade R, in grade double note or grade triple note for this year.
Okay, so Mariam, that then leads me on to my next question. And how does this issue that I'm going to raise now impact on the child's anxiety, possibly even further? We've heard and read about the recent spate of kidnappings, and we speak about it very openly in the presence of our children because we think that if we speak about it openly enough, they are going to be more careful. They understand that there is danger out there. So there are two issues here: a child that's very anxious, and the fact that you need to make them aware that they need to be safe and not engage with strangers and to look out for red flags. How do we deal with this situation? Because it's quite sensitive, is it not?
Absolutely, Julie, 100%. And look, children that manifest separation anxiety, to their credit, they are slow to warm up. So they won't easily engage with people they don't know or strangers and things. But other children, I mean, those that are very friendly and have a good disposition and love people, and those are the personality types that we need to be focusing a lot more. I mean, everybody in general, but just that in my experience in teaching, the ones that manifest in the ones that are very, very shy and that what psychologists slow to warm up, they won't just strike up conversations. It's the ones that are friendly. The important thing nowadays, what happens is, Julie, even if you don't know me, and I say, Assalamu alaikum, how are you, Julie? How are you doing? And that, what happens? Now you see I've extended a kind gesture to you. You slowly let down your guard. And I mean, you're older, so you start thinking, why did I meet this person? I don't know them. And then in your attempt to not be rude, because I reached out and I was conversational and I was kind to you, you are now going to reciprocate because that's human nature. So we need to teach our children that if somebody says your name and inquires about you, it's not necessarily they're being genuine. Because sometimes they are adults scary that want to trap you. So they want to be your friend, but they don't want to do good to you. They want to harm you or take you away. So be very, very careful. When somebody says your name and starts speaking to you, you need to say, but I don't know you, where I met you. How do you know my name? We need to start empowering our children to ask questions when a stranger suddenly starts speaking to them. To say, but how do you know my name? Because I haven't seen you before. So that is very, very important to tell them, because anybody for that, even adults here, I mean, today adults are being kidnapped, and that when somebody says your name and strikes up a conversation, naturally, it's you let down your guard. So we now need to be discriminate, and we need to start asking questions and just say, excuse me, have I met you before? I forgot, it's my memory. Or even the younger kids to say, but I don't remember you. If they say your name and you clearly don't remember, say, excuse me, but I don't remember you. How do you know my name?
Either that or just get out of that space, because there is the possibility they can snatch you.
You know what? It's just not what normally happens, and especially if you look at predators, and I'm talking about sexual predators, in that it's not just a snatch. It's a series of befriending. It's a series of befriending the child, gaining trust, getting them familiar, getting them. So that is why first time you need to empower, because it's not just about the snatching. It's about also the sexual predators that try on our children to sexually groom them. So it could be anybody. So we need to tell them that they need to know, how do they know my name? And then you need to ask them their name, who they are. And we need to make it a habit to tell our children who they met. If there's any other adults, they must remember who they spoke to, who are they. and then tell me, so I'd like to meet them at your school. If this person came to talk to you, or if this person said it's their cousin, or their father, or their dad, and they no, later on find out or ask the educator, my child said they were speaking to so and so, who is this person?
Right,
So
right.
you become aware, and it's open communication from young. The other thing is, we label everything so that things don't get lost, or if they lost, it's easy to find if they marked and labeled. For things that are internal, so your stationery, your school shoes on the inside, school uniforms on the inside, it's fine. But I would be very, very wary to label school bags on the outside. Anything that gives a child's name and address should no longer be labeled on the inside. It needs to be
on
concealed.
the outside.
It needs, yes, it needs to be concealed. So whatever of the child's personal details should be written inside the bag or concealed. And if you want
important.
To put something on the outside of the bag, let's rather put a telephone number. Put
Mariam,
a telephone number of yourself.
Right. That's very, very important information you've just shared with us. Something I didn't even think about, but it is absolutely crucial. Sadly, I'm going to have to leave it there because it is exactly 10 o'clock and time for me to wrap up. But shukran indeed for your wise words regarding anxiety, separation, safety, in the school grounds, and obviously everything that is related to those issues. But inshallah, we will talk again. Go well, and salaam alaikum to you.
On behalf of the entire Salaamedia team, let us wish every learner, every parent, every educator a prosperous and a fruitful academic year for 2022. And inshallah, we are here to support parents, and we will continually do so via all our programming. So inshallah, all the best to everybody who was in all the role players in the educational system for 2022.
Ameen, Thumma Ameen. That was Mariam Mia, childhood development expert and a senior presenter right here on Salaamedia. Time for me to wrap up. A big thank you to Nasreen and Naidu, my producer and controller here in the studio. Thank you for being with us for the past 2 hours. Take care on the roads. Follow the COVID protocols. Until next Monday at the same time, as always, Khuda Hafiz from me, Julie Ali.
Breaking stereotypes.